Welcome back to Daily AI News at Let's Data Science. It's 11th August 2026. Today, we're diving into some pivotal developments from the future of machine intelligence to major product launches. Let's get to it. Our top story today. Riot Platforms has disclosed a 20-year lease for 191 megawatts of critical information technology capacity at its Rockdale, Texas campus, showing just how far ahead frontier AI developers are reserving infrastructure. Riot projects roughly $9.1 billion in contract revenue through June 2048. Two tenant-controlled 5-year extensions could lift the potential total to around $16.1 billion. Riot's official disclosure identifies the customer only as a leading frontier AI lab. LiveMint, citing Bloomberg and people familiar with the matter, reports that the tenant is Anthropic, but neither Riot nor Anthropic has publicly confirmed that identification. The Tier 3 build-to-suit project is scheduled to deliver its first 96 megawatts in December 2027 and reach the full 191 megawatts by June 2028. Riot says the project can use Rockdale's existing approved grid connection. It's Riot's second announced AI data center customer there after AMD, bringing the two agreements to 241 megawatts. Riot also disclosed a $573 million interim financing facility from Morgan Stanley. The revenue and operating income figures remain forward-looking projections, dependent on construction, financing, tenant performance, and delivery. From massive hosted infrastructure to models running locally, the security boundary changes dramatically. Sierra has disclosed 10 vulnerabilities in Llama.cpp, the C and C++ inference engine embedded in many local AI products, following research presented at DEF CON 34. Vulncheck allocated 10 CVE identifiers, and the findings span Android JNI integrations, the Llama server HTTP lifecycle, and GGUF model metadata processing. Sierra describes use after free conditions, integer overflows, and out-of-bounds memory access. Two Llama server flaws, CVE 2026-43631 and 43632, received CVSS version 4 scores of 9.2. In Sierra's June 1st check against Llama.cpp build B9445 and GGUF version 0.19.0, 5 findings remained unpatched. Sierra published its own patches, but that does not establish that downstream products have incorporated fixes. Operators should inventory exactly where Llama.cpp is embedded and which builds are deployed. Sierra specifically recommends avoiding the sleep idle seconds option on servers accepting untrusted HTTP until the relevant flaws are fixed, and avoiding exposure of Llama server on all network interfaces without authentication controls such as a reverse proxy. Local inference can keep data on controlled infrastructure, but it also transfers native code patching and isolation responsibilities to operators. That local inference security picture matters immediately for Meta's newest release. Meta has published Muse Glimmer, a 30 billion parameter model aimed at local agentic workflows with weights under the Apache 2.0 license. Meta says Muse Glimmer supports tool calling, coding, multimodal input, long context memory, instruction following, and failure recovery. It was distilled from the larger Muse Spark system using supervised fine-tuning, on-policy distillation, and reinforcement learning. At full precision, Meta says the model requires more than 55 gigabytes of memory. An approximately 4-bit quantized release brings the language model below 20 gigabytes, intended to leave capacity for the key-value cache, image encoder, and speculative decoding drafter inside a 24 or 32 gigabyte memory envelope. That makes single consumer GPU testing practical on suitable Macs and PCs. Weights and developer documentation are available now, while optimized integrations for Llama.cpp, MLX, and Executorch are scheduled to follow. Meta reports evaluations including Deep Search QA, MCP Atlas, Tau Bench, and SWE Bench, but those are vendor-reported results requiring independent reproduction. For deployment teams, the evaluation priorities are latency, quantization quality, tool call reliability, permissions, sandboxing, secret isolation, and failure recovery on the hardware and workflows they actually intend to use. Staying with Muse Glimmer, another important angle is what Meta's packaging and licensing mean for deployment. The 30 billion parameter model is downloadable under Apache 2.0 with full precision and quantized artifacts plus developer documentation. Meta says the roughly 4-bit version brings language model weights below 20 gigabytes, allowing the weights, key value cache, perception encoder, and DFlash speculative decoding component to operate inside a 24 or 32 gigabyte memory envelope. Meta designed Muse Glimmer for multi-step planning, tool use, coding, multimodal inputs, failure recovery, and longer-running agent tasks. Local execution can reduce dependence on hosted APIs, support offline or latency-sensitive applications, and keep sensitive inputs within an organization's environment. But that moves responsibility for prompt injection defenses, access controls, logging, tool permissions, and output evaluation onto the deployer. Meta's model card recommends application-specific testing and additional guardrails, including human confirmation for irreversible actions. The release also accompanies Mark Zuckerberg's argument for broad distribution of advanced AI capabilities. Associated Press reports that Meta plans developer access to Muse Spark 1.2, but that is separate from the Muse Glimmer artifacts available today. Teams should reproduce Meta's benchmark and hardware claims with their own agent scaffolds before production use. From local hardware back to the power grid, Cushman & Wakefield ranks Dallas as the world's top primary data center market for 2026. The comparison covered 107 markets across 24 variables. Virginia still leads installed capacity at 11.3 gigawatts, so Dallas's position reflects forward-looking development conditions rather than present scale. The report puts average large load grid connection time at 4.4 years, making deliverable electricity and scalable land increasingly decisive for AI infrastructure. From power constraints to network weaknesses, researchers at Singapore's Nanyang Technological University used iFinder, an LLM-assisted multi-agent system, to uncover 84 previously unknown flaws across 7 open-source 4G and 5G core implementations. The paper reports 83 confirmations and 81 CVE assignments. Tested software included Open5GS, OpenAir Interface, Free5GC, SD Core, and EUPF. The researchers manually reviewed and reproduced reported findings, underscoring that agent-generated vulnerability candidates still require specification checks, proof of concept testing, and human validation. The same local AI ecosystem is also appearing in threat operations. Genian says Kimsuki-linked Operation GitPower combined AI-generated phishing lures, malicious Windows shortcut files, PowerShell, GitHub or GitLab infrastructure, and async rat. Investigators also found Ollama, GPT-4all, and MESD artifacts on linked infrastructure, including a GPT-4all local docs retrieval database. The evidence points to experimentation with offline language model and retrieval workflows, not proprietary model training. For defenders, endpoint behavior and persistence telemetry become more useful as phishing prose becomes easier to polish. Returning to Meta's local agent push, the Muse Glimmer model card adds concrete hardware details. Meta says a 4-bit version of the 30 billion parameter model fits below 20 gigabytes and tested a 17 gigabyte quantized build on Apple M4 Max and M5 Max systems using Executorch, and on an NVIDIA RTX 5090 using Llama.cpp. Meta recommends application-specific safety testing and human confirmation for irreversible agent actions, particularly where tools can produce real-world consequences. A broader view of that release highlights Meta's renewed open weight strategy. Muse Glimmer is a 30 billion parameter Apache 2.0 model supporting text, images, tool calling, code generation and debugging, and multi-step workflows. Meta describes support across more than 100 languages. Open weights allow developers to run and adapt the model outside a hosted API, but do not automatically disclose complete training data or the full training pipeline. Production evaluation should measure task success, latency, memory usage, tool call correctness, and prompt injection resistance. And finally, Anthropic reports that an unreleased research version of Claude improved a long-standing lower bound connected to the Riemann hypothesis, raising the certified fraction of Riemann zeta zeros on the critical line from 41.6% to 67.2%. This is not a proof of the Riemann hypothesis. Anthropic says 2 company mathematicians validated the argument, with number theorists Brian Conry and Dan Goldston also examining the paper. The research workflow involved 60 Claude subagents. And that's your AI briefing for today. The landscape is moving faster than ever, and we'll be here to track it with you. For more insights, visit us at letsdatascience.com. Thanks for tuning in, stay curious, and we'll be back tomorrow with the latest in AI.